Imagine living months at sea in cramped, filthy conditions where disease spreads faster than gunfire and fresh water is scarcer than treasure. Pirates are often pictured as daring adventurers, but the harsh reality was far from glamorous. What was life really like on those infamous ships? From terrifying infections to relentless pests and makeshift surgeries, the truth about pirate hygiene and health is a story of survival against brutal odds. Ready to dive into the gritty details behind the legend? The phrase, "yo ho ho, a pirate's life for me" from Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean ride is certainly catchy. It paints a romantic picture of life at sea, full of adventure and excitement. However, the reality for pirates was far from the jolly, carefree image we often see in movies and theme parks. Pirate ships were overcrowded, filthy, and breeding grounds for disease. Conditions were harsh and hygiene was a constant challenge, making the pirate life a difficult and often dangerous existence. Sailors and pirates alike faced many hardships on board their vessels. The ships were small and cramped with limited space for living quarters. The lack of proper ventilation and cleanliness meant that illnesses could spread rapidly among the crew. Additionally, pirates rarely had access to clean drinking water or nutritious food, which further weakened their health and made them more vulnerable to infections. When it comes to personal hygiene, pirates had very few resources or opportunities to maintain cleanliness. Let's start with dental care, which was nearly non-existent. Contrary to popular belief, pirates did not have any elaborate or effective methods to keep their teeth clean. Most pirates simply did not care for their teeth at all, leading to poor dental health. In some cases, pirates might have chewed on wooden sticks as a rudimentary form of teeth cleaning. This practice wasn't unique to pirates. Chew sticks have been used since ancient times and were common well into the 18th century. However, finding suitable chew sticks on a ship at sea was difficult, so even conscientious pirates likely went long periods without any oral hygiene. As a result, tooth decay and gum disease were widespread among sailors. Bathing was another area where hygiene suffered greatly. Fresh water was a precious commodity on pirate ships and was mainly reserved for cooking and drinking. Because of this scarcity, regular baths were rarely an option. Instead, pirates might have taken quick rinses in the ocean. However, this was not ideal for several reasons. Salt water can be harsh on the skin, causing irritation or dryness. Drinking or accidentally swallowing salt water could also make a person ill. Beyond that, pirates often feared the sea itself, believing in monsters lurking beneath the waves. This fear, combined with the fact that many pirates were poor swimmers, made it dangerous to leave the safety of the ship for a swim. Overall, bathing was a rare and uncomfortable experience for pirates. When it comes to clothing, the typical image of pirates wearing fancy waistcoats and breeches is largely a Hollywood invention. In reality, pirate captains and crew members dressed in practical, comfortable clothing suited for life at sea. Pirates often wore the same clothes for months at a time, which were usually soaked with sweat, blood, and sometimes even the blood of others. Washing clothes on board was a challenge due to the limited supply of fresh water. If clothes were cleaned at all, it would usually happen when the pirates were on land. Even then, the washing was typically done with just water, sometimes salt water, and soap was rarely used. This lack of proper laundry care meant clothes remained dirty and unhygienic for long periods, contributing to discomfort and the spread of disease. Soap itself was not a common commodity on pirate ships, at least not in the way we think of it today. Although soap has been around for centuries, making it on board was difficult. Whaling ships, which operated around the same time as many pirate crews, processed whale blubber to produce oil and soap, but this was a messy and unpleasant process. Pirates may have seized whale blubber from whalers to try making their own soap, but the effort was tough and the smells were overpowering. Given these difficulties, soap was scarce on pirate ships, which meant personal cleanliness suffered further. The facilities for relieving oneself on a pirate ship were rudimentary at best. While toilets had existed since the 16th century, pirate ships did not have proper toilets. Instead, they had what was known as the head. This was essentially a wooden plank with a hole cut through it, positioned at the front or bow of the ship. Sailors would use this plank to relieve themselves, with the waste falling directly into the sea below. This simple arrangement is why bathrooms on ships are still sometimes called heads today. Interestingly, Royal Navy ships did have proper toilets, but only for officers. The common sailors, like pirates, used the plank system. In bad weather, when it was unsafe to use the plank, sailors might have used pots to relieve themselves, emptying them overboard later. Unsurprisingly, this system did little to maintain cleanliness or prevent the spread of disease. Despite the rough conditions, pirates spent a significant amount of time keeping their ships clean. While movies often show pirates as swashbuckling and carefree, much of their time was actually dedicated to chores and maintenance. Pirates scrubbed decks to remove dirt, salt, and waste. They repaired sails and rigging to keep the ship seaworthy. Weapons, including swords and pistols, required regular cleaning to prevent rust and ensure they were ready for battle. Every sailor was assigned specific duties, and these tasks were crucial for survival. Additionally, pirate ships underwent a process called careening every few months. This involved tilting the ship onto its side so the crew could scrape barnacles and other sea creatures off the hull. This was necessary to protect the wood from damage caused by shipworms, marine creatures known to bore into and weaken wooden ship. While pirates may not have been able to maintain high standards of personal hygiene, they understood the importance of keeping their ships in good condition. A well-maintained ship meant a safer and faster vessel, which was essential for evading naval forces and hunting prey. Life on a pirate ship was far from the glamorous picture often portrayed in popular culture. Hygiene was poor due to limited fresh water, lack of proper facilities, and minimal access to cleaning supplies like soap. Dental care was nearly non-existent, and bathing was a rare event fraught with danger and discomfort. Clothing was worn for long periods without proper washing, contributing to a generally unclean and unhealthy environment. Despite these challenges, pirates were diligent about cleaning and maintaining their ships to keep them functional and ready for battle. Understanding the harsh realities of pirate hygiene provides a more accurate view of life at sea during the golden age of piracy. It also explains why disease and illness were such serious threats to pirate crews, often more dangerous than the battles they fought. Pirate life was notoriously rough, and much of that was due to the poor conditions aboard their ships. When it came to cleaning and maintaining the ship itself, pirates faced several challenges, but this was an area where they took some care. Keeping the ship in working order was essential for survival, especially since pirates depended on speed, stealth, and seaworthiness to carry out their raids. One important part of ship maintenance was dealing with the buildup of barnacles, mollusks, and other sea creatures on the hull. These organisms could slow the ship down and cause damage over time. To prevent this, pirates and sailors alike engaged in a process called careening. Careening involved tilting the ship onto one side, usually near shore, so the crew could scrape off barnacles and other growths clinging to the bottom of the hull. This was necessary not only to maintain speed, but also to protect the ship from a marine pest known as the shipworm. Despite its name, the shipworm is not actually a worm, but a type of marine bivalve mollusk. It burrows into the wooden hull, weakening the structure and threatening the ship's integrity. Without careening, a ship could become severely damaged, putting the entire crew at risk. In addition to hull maintenance, pirates spent time scrubbing decks, repairing sails and rigging, and cleaning weapons. A clean deck helped prevent accidents and disease, while well-maintained sails and rigging were vital for navigation and speed. Weapons, whether swords, pistols, or cannons, needed regular cleaning to prevent rust and ensure they functioned properly during combat. Pirates often had assigned chores, and these tasks were far from easy, but critical for the ship's survival. And these pirates actually wrote and drawn from this book called Rise in the King. When it came to personal care and hygiene, soap was a scarce and valuable commodity. Although soap had been used for centuries by various cultures, producing it on a pirate ship was difficult. Whaling ships operating around the same era processed whale blubber to produce oil, lubricants, and soap. Pirates occasionally seized whale blubber from whalers to make soap for themselves, but the process was far from pleasant. Rendering blubber was hard, messy work, and the smell was overpowering. Most pirates did not bother making or using soap, which added to the overall poor hygiene aboard the ship. The limitations on washing extended to clothing as well. Despite the glamorous images of pirates in movies wearing crisp and colorful outfits, in reality, pirate clothing was practical and often very dirty. Pirates wore the same garments for months, which were soaked with sweat, dirt, and sometimes blood. Washing clothes on board was nearly impossible because fresh water was reserved mainly for drinking and cooking. When pirates had the chance to wash their clothes on land, they often used only water or salt water, rarely soap. As a result, clothing remained unclean and could contribute to skin infections and the spread of lice and other pests. Food on pirate ships was another major challenge, affecting both hygiene and health. Pirates needed food that could withstand long voyages without spoiling. Their diet usually consisted of dried meats, hardtack, a type of dry, hard biscuit, and alcohol. These staples were practical but lacked nutritional value, especially fresh vitamins and minerals. Pirates supplemented their diet when possible with turtles, birds, fish, and other proteins they encountered along their journeys. They sometimes prepared stews, combining whatever ingredients were available, including garlic, olives, eggs, cabbage, oysters, and even snakes. Seasonings and spices might be added to make the food more palatable, but these were not always available. Overall, the diet was unbalanced and often deficient in vital nutrients, particularly vitamin C. This deficiency led to scurvy, a common and deadly disease among sailors of the time. Scurvy occurs when the body lacks enough vitamin C, which is necessary for the repair and maintenance of tissues. Without it, the body's collagen production is impaired, leading to symptoms like bleeding gums, tooth loss, fatigue, and swelling. Historical accounts describe the effects of scurvy in vivid detail. For example, William Clowes, a sea surgeon, wrote about the condition's devastating impact on sailors. He described how the gums would rot down to the roots of the teeth, cheeks would swell and harden, and breath would become foul. Teeth would loosen and fall out, leaving the sufferer in great pain. Such conditions made life aboard pirate ships even more miserable and weakened the crew, reducing their effectiveness in battle and daily duties. Scurvy was so widespread that it caused millions of deaths among sailors between the 15th and 18th centuries. The disease was well known to naval authorities and surgeons, yet it was difficult to prevent without regular access to fresh fruits and vegetables, which were hard to store or grow at sea. One 16th century English ship surgeon even recorded his own experience with scurvy, describing rotted gums that bled black and putrid blood, and legs that became black and gangrenous. His condition was so severe that he had to cut away dead skin and gums to relieve the pressure and pain. Desperately, he rinsed his mouth with his own urine, the closest antiseptic available to him at the time. Besides scurvy, other diseases like dysentery, fevers, and fluxes were common due to poor sanitation and contaminated water supplies. Close quarters, overcrowding, and a lack of hygiene made it easy for illnesses to spread quickly among the crew. Dysentery, caused by infection of the intestines, often resulted from drinking putrid or contaminated water, leading to severe diarrhea and dehydration, sometimes proving fatal. Fever outbreaks could be linked to infections, malaria, or other tropical diseases that pirates encountered on their voyages. Medical care on pirate ships was limited but essential. Injuries from battles, accidents, and everyday life were frequent, and ships often carried surgeons or men with some medical training. These surgeons were sometimes forcibly recruited from captured ships or chosen from among the crew. Notable pirate surgeons like John Devon, who served Captain Henry Every, are recorded in history. Devon stayed with Every even after the captain was declared an official pirate by the English Privy Council. Others, like Archibald Murray, served multiple pirate captains, showing that some medical professionals were an accepted part of pirate crews. Surgeons had a range of responsibilities, including amputations, wound treatment, and dealing with infections. Surgery was dangerous and painful, often performed without anesthesia. Pirates also carried medicine chests containing ointments, salves, and surgical instruments like knives and saws. When Blackbeard's ship Queen Anne's Revenge was discovered off North Carolina, archaeologists found a well-preserved medicine chest containing scissors, mortars, and pestles for preparing medicine, and bloodletting tools. According to a popular but sometimes questioned historical account, Blackbeard extorted medical supplies from the government by attacking ships and threatening coastal towns. Pirates also faced constant threats from insects and vermin. Lice, fleas, rats, and even bees were common aboard ships. These pests not only caused discomfort but also spread diseases such as typhus and plague. John Esquemeling, who sailed with the famous privateer Henry Morgan, described gnats biting so fiercely that they caused ulcers. To combat infestations, fumigation was sometimes recommended, although the effectiveness of these treatments was limited. Life at sea brought many other risks related to hygiene and health. Dehydration was a constant concern due to limited fresh water supplies and harsh weather conditions. Exposure to sun could cause severe sunburn, while extreme cold led to frostbite and hypothermia. Wounds and trauma from sword fights, gunfire, and cannonballs were common and could become infected without proper care. Pirate ships were incredibly dangerous places, not just because of battles and storms, but because of the constant threat posed by disease and infection. Living in such close quarters with limited hygiene practices made it easy for illnesses to spread rapidly and take a heavy toll on crews. Pirates, like all sailors of the time, faced a wide range of health risks, many of which modern medicine would find shocking. One of the most well-documented medical problems aboard pirate ships was the prevalence of sexually transmitted diseases. Syphilis in particular was common among sailors who often engaged with prostitutes during their time ashore. The disease, which was poorly understood at the time, caused painful sores, skin rashes, and, if left untreated, could lead to severe complications affecting the heart, brain, and other organs. In an effort to combat syphilis, pirate surgeons sometimes carried specialized tools such as urethral syringes, designed to administer treatments directly into the affected area. The discovery of such an instrument aboard Blackbeard's ship Queen Anne's Revenge highlights the reality of these infections among pirate crews. In addition to sexually transmitted diseases, pirates frequently suffered from other contagious illnesses like fever, smallpox, and measles. These diseases could spread rapidly in the cramped, unsanitary conditions aboard a ship. Smallpox in particular was highly contagious and often fatal, especially in environments where vaccinations were unavailable. Pirates, who regularly came into contact with different ports and populations, were vulnerable to outbreaks of such diseases which could decimate crews. The presence of insects and vermin on pirate ships only made matters worse. John Escamelling, a sailor who chronicled his time with the infamous privateer Henry Morgan, described the torment caused by biting gnats so tiny they were barely visible but left painful ulcerated wounds on the skin. Along with gnats, ships were infested with lice, fleas, and rats. These pests not only caused discomfort and distraction, but were vectors for disease. Lice, for example, could carry typhus, a serious illness that plagued crowded living conditions. Rats, attracted by food stores, spread fleas that were linked to the plague and other deadly diseases. Pirate crews tried to manage these infestations by fumigation, a method involving the use of smoke or strong-smelling substances to kill or drive away insects. However, these measures were only partially effective, as the ships were often overcrowded and conditions conducive to pest infestations persisted. The challenge of keeping a ship pest-free was constant, requiring regular cleaning and vigilance, which was no small task considering the other demands on the crew's time and resources. The dangers of life at sea extended beyond disease and pests. Environmental factors played a significant role in pirate health. Dehydration was a real threat, as fresh water was rationed carefully, primarily reserved for drinking and cooking. Sailors could go for long periods without sufficient water, especially in hot climates or during extended battles or storms, which led to exhaustion and heat illnesses. Sunburn was common for pirates, exposed to the sun for hours each day without protection, often resulting in painful, peeling skin and increased risk of infection. On the flip side, in colder regions or during storms, pirates faced the risk of hypothermia and frostbite. Wet clothing combined with cold winds and low temperatures could lead to serious health problems. These conditions weakened the immune system and made infections more likely, further complicating the already precarious health situation aboard pirate vessels. Injuries were a daily reality for pirates, whether from combat or accidents on board the ship. Swords, pistols, muskets, and cannon fire caused wounds ranging from cuts and bruises to severe trauma requiring amputation. The surgeons on pirate ships had to be skilled in emergency procedures, often working under difficult conditions without the benefit of modern anesthetics or sterile environments. Blood loss, infection, and shock were constant risks during surgeries, and survival rates were low compared to modern standards. Interestingly, the role of a ship surgeon extended beyond treating injuries and diseases. They also performed haircuts and shaving, which were necessary for both hygiene and surgical reasons. A 17th century manual called The Surgeon's Mate detailed how surgeons carried multiple razors and scissors, not only for medical procedures but also for grooming. Shaving areas for surgery helped prevent infection and made wounds easier to clean and dress. The presence of surgeons on pirate ships was often a matter of necessity rather than choice. Some surgeons were forcibly recruited from captured vessels, while others were inexperienced crew members who had to learn medical techniques out of sheer necessity. Despite the dangers, the surgeons provided critical care that could mean the difference between life and death. The medicine chests aboard pirate ships contained various salves, ointments, surgical instruments, and sometimes even herbal remedies. These supplies, while rudimentary by today's standards, were vital for treating wounds, infections, and common illnesses. When the wreck of Blackbeard's Queen Anne's Revenge was discovered off the coast of North Carolina, archaeologists found a medicine chest containing surgical tools like scissors, mortars, and pestles for grinding ingredients, and devices likely used for bloodletting. Bloodletting was a common medical practice at the time, believed to balance the body's humors and promote healing. Although often ineffective or harmful, it was standard treatment for many conditions, reflecting the limited medical knowledge available to pirates and sailors alike. Beyond the medical supplies, pirates' attitudes toward hygiene and health varied. While some may have tried to maintain a level of cleanliness when possible, the realities of shipboard life often made this impossible. Fresh water was too valuable to waste on washing, and soap was rare. Pirates tended to wash themselves and their clothes only when they had the opportunity on land. On the ship, they might rinse off in the ocean occasionally, though salt water could irritate the skin and cause sickness if swallowed. Many pirates feared leaving the ship for a swim due to superstitions about sea monsters or because they were poor swimmers. Toilets aboard pirate ships were primitive by modern standards. There were no flush toilets, only a simple plank with a hole known as the head, located at the bow or head of the ship. Sailors would use this plank to relieve themselves, with waste dropping directly into the sea. Royal Navy ships sometimes had more advanced facilities reserved for officers, but common sailors and pirates shared the basic head. In rough weather, pirates might resort to using pots and throwing the contents overboard later. The lack of proper sanitation contributed to the spread of diseases and unpleasant conditions on board. Despite these harsh realities, pirates had to keep their ships clean to some degree. Decks were scrubbed regularly to remove dirt, blood, and waste. This was not only about cleanliness, but also about safety. Slippery or cluttered decks could cause accidents, especially during storms or battles. Weapons and tools also required cleaning to prevent rust and ensure they were ready for use. Ship repairs were ongoing, with sails patched and rigging checked frequently. In many ways, the life of a pirate was a constant struggle against the elements, disease, and injury. The romanticized image of swashbuckling adventure rarely includes the grim realities of scurvy-ridden crews, infestations, and medical crises. The fact that pirates could survive and even thrive in these conditions is a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness. Modern research into pirate life, including archaeological finds like Blackbeard's shipwreck and historical documents, continues to shed light on the true conditions aboard pirate vessels. These discoveries help us understand the complex balance between danger, hygiene, and survival that define the pirate experience.